Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. It's Jason and Jamie. Jamie, new video has emerged of showing the horrible killing of Takeoff in Houston. What have we learned from this new video?
So yes, this happened Houston about 2 a.m, outside of a bowling alley. It's almost like a mall type complex, and you see the altercation. The thing that's interesting is Takeoff's actually in the background. It seems to be whatever beef is going on is with Quavo, and he is actually very calm, cool, and collected, I would say.
Sort of in a discussion with a group of other
people.
And
you can tell that somebody's obviously trying to antagonize him, and he's not having it. At one point, you hear him say, "I don't get down like that." They walk away. So at that point, you think the fight's over. That's when you start to hear the gunfire. The camera goes, down to the ground. Everyone goes down. And that's when you hear all the gunshots. We also now have a video that shows an unidentified man. You cannot see the face, but you see the pocket and you see his hand in a gun.
Right.
Unclear if that's the gun that was
used
killed.
To the killing,
yes,
right?
Yes. But this whole thing is getting very, very odd because Takeoff's manager broke his silence and released a statement. And when he said it, he said that something along the lines of, how unfortunate and horrible that Takeoff was killed by a stray bullet.
Right.
Which is a very interesting choice of words.
Very interesting choice of words. And by the way, something that's totally impossible for him to say at this point, right? Because so Jamie mentioned that there was one person seen with just in the camera sort of swung by, and there was you could see a gun on somebody's waist. It seems that same person is seen holding that gun.
Yes.
But when you hear in a video, and you hear audio from a video where you can't see anything, and it's a number of bullets fired. I haven't counted them, but it seems like a dozen or more bullets that are fired. So it's quite likely, and the rapidity with which they're coming out, most people listening to it, I think it stands up, where it seems like there was more than one person shooting.
And let's keep in mind that this is Texas. Your cleaning lady has a gun.
Right. Everybody's got a gun, right? And so there's multiple bullets being fired.
Well, it's speculation, or it seems like they do know. And they do know who, it's a horrible term. It's the only term I can think of. It sounds almost like the manager knows it was friendly fire.
Right.
So it was a bullet from somebody in his group that unintentionally hit him. This is my theory because I think the use of the term stray bullet is so strategic and not an accident.
So police are obviously investigating this. As Jamie mentioned, it's a complex. It's a bowling alley, but it's very new, and it's kind of got this, like Charles described it as a breezeway outside where you walk in and you walk down this area, and it's more of a giant complex within which is a bowling alley. The confrontation between Quavo and these other individuals, which presumably led to the gunfire, though we're speculating there too, happens in the breezeway, not within the bowling alley itself. And Quavo is calm during it. He's clearly trying to calm people's the anger. There's some anger, and he's trying to bring the level of intensity down. It's when he begins to walk away that the gunfire starts. And now police are going to be looking at a few things. Number one is the surveillance video. It seems it's such a new complex.
It's a very new complex.
Everywhere
it's a fancy area. There's House of Blues is in there.
Yes.
There's got to be cameras everywhere.
There's got to be cameras everywhere. Now, but it's what is unlikely to be shown by the cameras, but maybe not, is if there were multiple people with guns and lots of bullets are fired, you have to wonder if police are ever going to be able to solve that riddle, right? These guns are now, if I'm the person who knows I shot him,
it's at the bottom of a river.
The gun is at the bottom of a river somewhere, and I'm producing a different gun, which I have a license for, and that's the one that I actually had that night, and you can tell it hasn't been fired. There's lots of ways to handle this.
These guys are not going to talk.
And these guys are not going to talk.
Two other people were shot, a 23-year-old and a 24-year-old, male and female. They're both non-life-threatening injuries. With the exception of somebody dedicating their life and being a ballistics expert, and I just don't think we're ever going to know.
It's going to be very difficult unless there's some sort of camera angle that shows a person shooting in the direction of Takeoff. It's unlikely we're going to find the answers we want out of this. It's a tragic situation.
It's horrible.
It seems that Takeoff was not involved in the verbal altercation. It does seem that he was probably not the intended victim, although we don't know. Maybe there was no intended victim. Maybe this is just people just shooting in the sky. Maybe, who knows what happened? It's really, really horrific.
But don't worry, guns aren't the problem.
No, guns are not the problem, right? This would have happened even if there weren't guns. That's impossible.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So another horrible situation
Yes.
involving the Capitol Police and involving Paul Pelosi, the husband of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. As we know, last week, there was a home invasion by a man who was seeking to kidnap. The reports have come out that he was seeking to kidnap Nancy Pelosi. He breaks into their home. She's not there. Paul Pelosi, 86-year-old husband of Nancy, 85-year-old husband of Nancy Pelosi.
He's old.
He's
Sorry,
old.
he's old.
Nancy's old, too, and
Yes.
he's even older. Gets there. There's a confrontation between Paul Pelosi and the intruder. The intruder grabs a hammer and hammers Paul Pelosi's head.
Yes.
It's come out now that there's surveillance all the time at their house, but the Capitol Police were not monitoring that camera.
No, I think they have something in that complex. I think they said about 1,800 cameras. And people are going after the Capitol Police saying they could have prevented this. He went through a door. He didn't sneak through the chimney. It was right there. I am going to defend them.
Yes.
They are hired to monitor Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
Obviously, her family is included. Nancy was not there at the time. She was in Washington, D.C. The eagle was not in the nest. Now, should somebody, periodically check in? Probably. But I
the
think
idea that you have 24 hours a day,
Yes.
7 days a week, somebody staring at a camera
at 2 in the morning.
when Nancy Pelosi is not there, it just defies logic.
Yes. So, that's my opinion. I don't know what there is to go after them. It was an honest mistake. I don't think there's any deeper conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're always looking for people to blame in these kinds of things. And in fairness to the Pelosi's, they have not come out and blamed the Capitol Police.
No.
It's just sort of people who are analyzing it. Several law enforcement officials spoke with the Washington Post anonymously and said that the Capitol Police were going to prevent an attack at a member of Congress's home. They have the best chance of doing it at Pelosi. She's the most watched member of Congress. She gets more death threats than any other person in Congress. Mm-hmm. There have been public calls from people in Congress to actually kill Nancy Pelosi. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she should suffer for committing treason and should be sentenced to death. Mm-hmm. So for those reasons, she gets a lot of threats. They're very real and very scary, and they're on her all the time. But your point is, to me, the dispositive point, the point that ends the debate, which is she's not there.
She's not there. And his intention, this man who broke in, the intention was not to go after Paul.
Right.
He just happened to be there.
Yeah. So they're going to be less vigilant about watching Nancy Pelosi's house when she's not there. That's the way things work. Now, obviously, to the extent they see something, they're going to protect Paul, and they did. Mm-hmm. They actually marched. They came on the scene very quickly after the altercation happened, and they disarmed this guy before more harm could be done. But again, I think it's just unfair. It defies sort of the way that human beings are. The idea that you have people sort of watching every moment.
Well, the manpower it would take alone.
Yes, and I'm sure there's all sorts of triggers that like my Ring doorbell triggers me when there's somebody outside. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that happened too. But the idea that they're going to react in a moment and get there within the 20 seconds it took for him to get inside this house and the altercation to happen is just sort of silly, right? It's just sort of silly. What do we do? Kanye or Kim and Pete? What do you think? We got to lighten things up. Let's go with Kim and Pete.
Kim and Pete. So everyone is saying they're back together. They're saying that they're in communication, that, they're reaching out, rekindling some love. Some people say that Pete had a meltdown on set a couple weeks ago, could have had to do with Kim. People also saying that Pete has been reaching out because of all of this Kanye mess.
So there's a lot of speculation that they might be back together. Have they spoken about this?
Not them, but we have spoken to people very close to them.
Yes.
And we're getting word that they are not even maybe sort of not
at all back together.
Nope. We have no photos.
Yeah.
They both say no. But I'm going to keep it going because you know what? It's Wednesday and I don't have a lot going on.
Here's the thing with the Kardashians, right? Everything they do is for ratings. There's nothing that happens independent of what can best make the best television. And the rumors of the two of them back together and maybe a wink and a nod to them being back together is good for ratings. So they can deny it all they want, and probably it's true. If they're going to deny it, I have no reason to believe they're lying. But they love the speculation being out there.
Well, even the statement, it didn't say hard no, never. It was, quote, highly unlikely that they will ever reunite.
So every time I hear something like this, and given the rumors of Pete Davidson's largesse, I always think about when Cardi B and Quavo were going through a difficult time. I think Quavo was publicly accused of infidelity.
Yes.
And Cardi B did a video of herself where she cagily acknowledged the possible existence of infidelity.
Yes.
And her response was, but I got to take him back because I'm addicted to the D.
Okay,
That's what Cardi B's words, not mine.
I would have said yearning for some love. But
Yes.
she did say it was the actual...
The D. That's what she said. She said the letter D. She said...
Now, with Kim and Pete, I know the rumors, blah, blah, blah. Pete has a big wiener. I don't even...
Why did you say it in that manly voice?
Because everybody...
It's not just a rumor. It's been every woman he's been with has sort of said he's got an enormous phallus.
But that aside, it's not like Kim can't get any wiener she wants in the world. I think the thing for her, she is so watched at all times, and it is not part of her image to be dating around all these guys. He's easy and he's safe and he keeps her secret. So if she's lying awake at night and wants some companionship, it totally makes sense that she would text him, say, come on over. She knows he's not talking.
Yeah. The relationship died for whatever reason, but to your point, he was a good boyfriend
and
within
was a
the
good
Kardashians.
Ex-boyfriend even.
Yes, within their Kardashian sphere of things.
Absolutely.
He kept her secrets. He didn't talk badly about her. He hasn't gone and tried to exploit the fame of Kardashian by banging somebody else who's bigger or whatever, except Martha Stewart made a play for him. But
I'm here for it. Kim would be here for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
who's going to deny Martha Stewart? Yeah.
So,
if your husband came, like Martha Stewart slid into my DMs, you'd be all right.
I'd drive him.
Right.
I'd wait in the car with snacks.
Can you just have her make me a trifle?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm not bringing the snacks. You bring the snacks.
Right, for sure. Bring it home afterwards.
Yes.
Right. He'd come back fat and happy.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I'd be happy too.
Right. Right. So, yeah, chances are they're not back together. They're both saying they're not back together, but I keep going back to if the ratings fizzle at any point or if they need more content, then they'll be back together, or at least speculations were swirled.
Yes.
Segueing easily from Kim and Pete back to Kanye West, it came out last week that because of the failed relationship that he had with The Gap and with Adidas, his net worth went from well over $1 billion, $1.1 billion or $1.2 billion, down to $400 million. And the reason being that we were relying on, when you assess somebody's value, it's based on the value of an agreement. That value of that agreement with Adidas is apparently in the multi hundreds of millions of dollars. That's stripped away. He's got no more income coming in from Adidas at all. So his net worth is now $400 million. Some people, Kanye West apologists, are not happy about that.
Let's remember that being a billionaire was the most important thing to Kanye West. He would interrupt interviewers and say, address me as billionaire Kanye West.
Did he really?
Yes, all the time. That was the most important thing to him, is that he was labeled a billionaire. Even, I think, technically...
Jamie, will you label me as billionaire Jason Beckerman?
Billionaire Jason Beckerman, Esquire.
Thank you. Oh, it's fantastic.
So it's very important to him, and his fans know it, all three of them that remain.
Yes.
And they're going to fight for him. So they have gone and are starting GoFundMe pages, possibly even more than one, where they are trying to make him a billionaire again.
Yes.
And people have donated money.
Now, when I first heard the story, I had first heard exactly what you just pitched. I thought this is the country's reckoning. This is the end of us as a people, that we are trying to raise money for a man worth $400 million. Forgetting about his awful political views and his anti-Semitism, he's worth $400 million. And with all the hunger and poverty in the world, we're trying to raise money for him instead of raising money for other good causes. But then we looked into the amount of money that's actually been raised.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. And GoFundMe ended up taking it down, and they continue to pop up, but GoFundMe is taking it down because there's no proof that this money is actually going to go to Kanye. And on top of taking it down, the anti-Kanye people are speaking out and starting their own pages.
Right.
That they're saying, don't make Kanye a billionaire. Make me a nice guy who's a waiter from Michigan.
So back to being
Make me a
GoFundMe,
millionaire.
which is give it to the not so successful
And some
guy.
people are giving them money, and I'm here for that. I love the new thing at like bachelorette parties or birthdays when people go out. The girls make signs with their Venmo tag so that I don't want a beer from a bar. Send me $10, and they make money.
But then if you end up sleeping with them, aren't you a prostitute?
I don't think you have to write the reason when you send the money. And $10, my goodness, you are cheap.
What's it cost these days?
I can't confirm or deny.
So apparently one of the GoFundMe accounts got $5 donated, another had $40 donated. So it was basically just a lark, and it never got traction. But, it's interesting. If Donald Trump were to do a GoFundMe to pay for legal bills occasioned by the left-wing conspiracy going after him, he would get tens of millions of dollars, right?
Is there any reason legal reason you can't do that?
No reason at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, he would get tens of millions. That's why Donald Trump will never be broke. Now, Donald Trump is the thing we're not talking about with Donald Trump is he is on the verge of losing hundreds of millions of dollars because he's got all these lawsuits and there's lots of things that he's done that are on their face probably pretty illegal. The Trump Organization that's now been indicted, and Alan Wasserman, his former accountant, is now coming out and is turning tables, going to testify against Trump. He's going to lose a fortune. He's got a lot of debt coming due that he doesn't really have the capacity to pay. He's going to lose a fortune. But because he has such ardent supporters, I mean, if every one of Trump's 70 million supporters were to donate $5, he would be an insanely rich man.
Don't you think he'd quietly be miserably broke than to ever admit that he would need a GoFundMe?
Maybe, although he has declared bankruptcy 4 times. He's not afraid of bankruptcy.
But he doesn't say it was because he's bankrupt. He says it was because of business reasons and smart
and that's
people.
what he'll say now.
Yeah.
He'll say my opponents have run me through court and been unfair, and it's terribly unfair what's happened to me. That's true. That's true. Much like Kanye would say.
Yes,
if he were
exactly.
ever to fall on hard times. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. We got Billie Eilish. So she's in this relationship with Jesse Rutherford. Jesse Rutherford is 31. She's only 20. A lot of people, and look, 11 years is not a lot, right? It's not a lot, but 31 to 20.
31 to 20 that's 2 years after you're a senior in high school when you're 20. 31, you've lived life. I will also say, though, Billie Eilish is not a normal 20-year-old.
Yes.
She has been in the public eye for many years. She's lived many lives.
An old soul and the whole thing.
Definitely an old soul. But they know their age difference, and they're laughing about it because for Halloween, she went as a baby and Jesse went as an old man.
Right.
I thought it was funny. A little weird, but people,
anytime you play into the things people are saying about you, I kind of like it.
I guess until they break up in 5 years from now, she looks back and she's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, people didn't love it. A lot of people had a lot of negative comments about it.
Oh, you know why? Because everybody that writes anything on the internet is negative. So
that's true. So you think there were a lot of positive comments too?
No, I don't think that's
no. And I don't love couples costumes anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not here for that.
I'm not either. But Billie Eilish, she's insanely talented and successful beyond any measure. But she runs the risk of kind of becoming a caricature of herself, doesn't she?
Well, at this point too, because Billie Eilish was very mysterious and didn't talk a lot and was not really active on social media. And I think this just changes her image. If we're going to you know what I mean? The mystique of what Billie Eilish is.
Yes. To me, she's become, the caricature point was based on the fact that she's this brooding 20-year-old with the green hair. She's no longer green hair. She's now blonde hair, but who's, hangs out with her brother all the time in this kind of, oddly close relationship. And then she's got this older boyfriend. I just think she runs the risk of being forever labeled as a weirdo. And I think that gets you somewhat out of the way, but I think even at some point that runs thin.
Though, that certain people love being weird. I think that would be such a compliment.
Oh,
to
really?
Her.
You think she'd like that?
Thank you.
Yeah. The thing that drives me crazy, I think she's a genius, but I think all of her music sounds exactly the same.
It does.
I need her to branch out.
It does. And to me, it's a little yacht rock, just kind of.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's pleasant.
Like Taylor Swift ran the same risk for the first few years, but I think her more recent stuff is totally different. It's a totally different vibe. I know Billie's looking for my opinions on her musical career, so I was just going to tell her to do something different.
Well, it's interesting that you say Taylor Swift, because think of what Taylor Swift was like at 20, and now Taylor Swift, almost 33.
Yes.
Light years, totally different. So who knows what Billie will be doing, or dating, or singing,
Fair
or
enough.
hanging out with her brother still.
Fair enough. All right, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Get us wherever you get your podcast, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, et cetera, and we'll see you tomorrow. See ya.